Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Hornsby and I am your online myofunctional therapist. And today I wanted to take some time to answer questions that were given to me by a forum called thegreatwork.org. And the members of that forum have sent me lots of really good questions that I'm going to spend the next little while trying to answer the best I can. So let's get into the questions. Question number 1 is, how rampant do you think craniofacial dystrophy is in modern westernized societies versus other parts of the world? How much do you think percentage-wise genetic versus environmental factors make up great faces? Okay, that's a pretty good question. So craniofacial dystrophy, many people won't recognize that term, but basically it is a description of all of the symptoms that come along with people who are breathing through their mouth and they have low postured tongues. So that's basically vertically angled mandibles, narrow faces, and narrow palates, and several other things. Now, as far as this question goes, I think it's very, very common. So I'm seeing anyone who's had allergies when they were a kid, anyone who's had large tonsils and adenoids at any point in their life, anyone who sucked their thumb, anyone who's tongue-tied. I don't know the exact percentage, but to me, it's got to be around like 40 to 50% of the general population. And a lot of that is environmental, like the question says, but a lot of it is that as we have kind of gone through the years and generations of being humans with these problems, we've experienced some epigenetic changes. So human skulls don't look like they used to look 100 or 200 or 500 or 1,000 years ago. So we're seeing changes that are happening within one generation, and you can see it in families. And so it does have to do with our DNA, where our parents, did our parents have these cranial dystrophy problems? Or did our parents have good, strong, square jaws, wide palates, and straight teeth? And then you as a child, were you a mouth-breathing child, and did you develop these symptoms because of it? So there's lots of factors, but yeah, it is very rampant. Question number 2. Besides the obvious aesthetic improvement to be made from proper oral posture, what sorts of other benefits are there? I've heard a whole bunch of supposed things, from improved eyesight to nicer smelling breath to better brain chemistry regulation, etc., though I don't know how founded these claims are. So those, I think, are all pretty valid claims. I won't go into them in too much depth, but the one thing that I think is missing is talking about the airway. So kids who breathe through their mouth and have low postured tongues, narrow palates, long faces, these kids are very likely to be adults with sleep apnea and bigger health problems. So jaw pain, head and neck issues, more dental issues. There are a lot of other symptoms that go along with it. It's definitely not just cosmetic, and that is really the message I try to get across. It's not all about, do you have a strong square jaw and a wide palate? Although that looks really nice, it's also healthier to have these things. So if you've got a narrow palate, open mouth, low tongue, narrow face, and small airway, you're going to have bigger problems with your health in general. Okay, question number 3. Our faces are central to our identities, and as such, talking about their issues is typically a highly sensitive matter, and I'm sure you understand from your experience as a myofunctional therapist. I have friends and family who unknowingly and oftentimes needlessly suffer from craniofacial dystrophy, of which I very much would like to help. However, I'm afraid of appearing harshly judgmental and alienating them somewhat. How would you recommend tactfully introducing someone to the idea without seeming rude? To answer this question, I would go back to my response from the previous question. So focus on health. Mouth breathing is unhealthy. Narrow palates, narrow faces, all of these things lead to bigger dental issues and bigger health problems in the future. So if the conversation is more based around appearance and cosmetic stuff, then it comes across as a lot more harsh or mean. But if you can tell somebody why it's healthier to have their tongue in the roof of their mouth and a wide palate, then it takes kind of that harsh pressure off of it. And I think, if you start gearing it towards health versus appearance, you're going to have much better luck with your family. Okay, question number 4. When I push up my tongue tip against the roof of my mouth, the pressure causes the base of my tongue to be pushed downward, and I get a bulging effect under my jaw, which is a little more than I'm comfortable with. I push with pretty minimal force most of the time, so I'm wondering if you have any advice for tightening or raising up this area. I have no idea what to search online for it. Okay, that's kind of a hard question for me to answer because I can't see you, I don't see what is going on. But if you're pushing your tongue up and it's causing a bulge under here, it might just take some time for the muscles to adapt. I'm honestly not really sure. If you are holding your tongue up, this is usually a good thing. Usually when the tongue is in the roof of the mouth, under here shouldn't look like it's bulging out. So if I could see you in person, I could probably give you some more advice, but from what it sounds like, there's something that you might not be doing quite right. So I don't know if I answered that very well, but that's the best response I have. You referenced the ALF and DNA appliances in your videos. How do you compare them? All right, I think the best thing to say about appliances are their tools. So it really comes down to the doctor using the appliance and if they're understanding your intent with what you're hoping to achieve. I think with the ALF appliance, it's best for people who have a lot of chronic pain and TMJ issues. It really works with cranial osteopathic approaches, and it does very subtle, fine movements that help a lot of people. It can get expansion. I don't know if it gets forward facial growth, but the DNA appliance can help in many similar ways. I think it's a little bit stronger forces than the ALF appliance, but I'm definitely not an appliance expert. All I know is that if you find somebody who uses one of these more alternative appliances, so the ALF, the DNA, anterior growth guidance appliances, or like the Galella appliances, Vivos, there's a handful of them out there. You are going to find doctors who use these appliances who are looking at the airway. Oftentimes the umbrella term is orthotropics, but you need to find somebody who's not just focused on giving you straight teeth and a great smile. Find someone who is looking at the bigger picture, and if it's forward facial growth that you're looking for and a wide palate and changes to some of these facial features, then Invisalign's not going to help you. Standard braces probably aren't going to help you either. You've got to find somebody who's familiar with the concepts of orthotropics and these specific appliances. Question 6, is the proper way to maintain tongue posture to suction the tongue against the palate, or should the tongue be pushed up via muscle strength against the palate? Also, should it be an active process, most like an exercise where you force, or should it be passive and easy? Okay, that's a multiple part question. At rest, when you're just going throughout your day, your tongue should be using muscle strength to hold it up in your palate. In the beginning, if you're used to having your tongue down in the bottom of your mouth, in the beginning, everyone creates a suction to hold their tongue up and to maintain that palatal contact. So that's kind of like stage 1. Stage 2 would be using muscles. Now, an exercise to work on this would be using a lot of force. So really pressing that tongue up against your palate. That to me is not how you should be going throughout your day unless you're intentionally trying to do an exercise throughout the day. So that shouldn't be just your normal resting posture, like applying a lot of pressure. Now the thing with trying to get forward skull growth, your tongue can do a lot, but it's very slow and very subtle movements. I've been doing myofunctional therapy for 8 years, and I've had slow, subtle changes to my own bones and to my own palate. But really what I need is orthotropics. So I'm looking into appliances all the time. I'm actually going to be starting treatment soon. But you sometimes need a little bit of help. Sometimes the tongue and lips and everything in someone who has dysfunctional facial features to begin with, compromised the cranial dystrophy features, sometimes you need a little bit more help. So the appliance might be the only thing you can do. I don't know that tongue posture, maybe if you do it for 20 years or something, you might get some improvement, but I think look for an appliance if you're looking for forward skull growth.